This is not professional.
This isn't branding. This isn't branding. This is the opposite of branding. This is begging.
Yeah. They need to be approaching us.
You know what I'm saying? But shoot, man, we back in here, man. What's going on, Thomas?
What's up, Alex? And
Yo,
Camille,
man.
bro, we got a good. I consider her a friend and just somebody with great energy, just a great vibe. That's why we've been vibing, but just incredible. And I'm excited to hear from Camille Hita. And I know that's not how you pronounce her name, so don't come at me. I know how to pronounce it, but I like Hita because she's a Hita, man.
Yo, she be getting it in, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have this conversation with this young lady today, man. I'm super excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm excited too.
Oh, now she's all like calm down. Y'all ain't see it before. Y'all ain't see what was going on before the
You will.
cameras turned on.
We're not going to edit the first 20 minutes. You're going to see.
All of a sudden, oh well, you know. Oh my God.
No. I think that's one of the things that's so special about her is she's fun. She's got great energy, but then she's also very professional, which is why we wanted to have you. And you definitely polished at the right times.
Well, I was raised in a place where people don't expect that, but it does come out sometimes.
Where people don't expect what?
My Lancaster-ness.
Oh, dude!
What?
Watch,
Yes.
check this. I didn't even know that.
I was there. I was born in the Philippines,
I should have
but
known.
we moved around a lot with my stepdad being in the military. So we settled in Lancaster for whatever reason. But I was there since second grade and didn't know about anything outside of the world other than that until I was like 20, 22.
Other than the AV,
Yeah. Well, Alaska. I did live in Alaska.
What?
But I thought it was a Lancaster to Alaska. I didn't know there was anything outside of that. Yeah.
well, the Antelope Valley school system really did not teach geography too well.
Oh my
She like
God.
there's three
Obviously.
places in the whole world: the Philippines, Lancaster,
Well, I
and
didn't
Alaska.
do good in school, okay?
Neither
I didn't
did
do
I.
good in school.
Yeah, at school is.
I barely passed. Yeah.
We need
I
school.
feel you.
What's school?
You know what's funny though? Like you hid your Lancasterness, I think is what you called it, very well because I had no idea. Check this out, bro. Like, isn't it funny? I feel bad. Like my Lancaster radar wasn't on or my AV radar. I was just telling my wife that a few years ago we were in Vegas, just me and a couple buddies, and we're kind of born and raised in the AV, and we're playing blackjack, and the dealers rotate and stuff, and so one of the dealers that rotated in. We're having a great time. We're fun. We're loud, and we're playing blackjack. And she was like, the most random question, dude. And she was like, "Are you guys from Palmdale?"
Oh,
And I was like, "Excuse me."
Damn.
whoa.
She's like, "I don't know why, but you guys have this vibe of like people from where I grew up." I'm like, "Oh snap! You grew up in like she recognized us from our attitude and our demeanor." So I feel bad that I didn't recognize
I know.
the AV in you, but I should have known. If you guys seen Camille dance, you would know.
Yeah, I was breakdancing, 7th, 8th grade.
What?
Popping and locking.
Look, she can still do it.
Man, don't tempt her.
Don't get me started.
Don't tempt her.
She had the Adidas shell toes with the fat laces.
My color was orange. Everyone had a color. To rock.
And yours was orange?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so what got you what got you did you move from Lancaster to obviously somewhere else now, but did you bounce around after that too, or?
Well, when I was in high school, I was very set on what I wanted to do for my career. I was going to be a professional photographer, everything. But then I met my now husband in high school, and obviously, right, relationships, you change your priorities when things change, right? Which was all good. newly wedded right here with Alex. But yeah, so when we had graduated high school, we got our own place together, and I got pregnant. And so we were kind of just forced to become adults, had to get a big girl job, I thought I was doing big things, being an assistant manager at Hot Dog on a Stick. It was awesome until I quit and they didn't let me have my hat. I thought that was so weird.
You couldn't
First
keep
of
your
all,
hat? You had to turn it back in?
Yeah, and that thing was nasty.
Hey, there's a GM out there still rocking Camille Hita's hat.
Exactly. My DNA is still somewhere in someone's hat. Ew.
I did not expect that at
Oh, sorry.
That's hilarious.
Funny, man.
Yeah, and
us all
so
that
I know. I was like, I have to, like, regretfully resign, and okay, that's fine. Here, give us back the hat. No, I was like, oh, okay, but I became a pharmacy technician and working at Kaiser. I was doing everything was great, but a time in my life where my marriage was not doing good. Like I expected it. Things were there was gonna be adversity. We had to grow up really fast.
Sure.
We met when we were 17 years old. He hasn't experienced other relationships before, so I knew like there was gonna be some kind of stuff that was gonna happen. But I just stuck through it. Marriage was tough for me, and I tried as much as I could. And when issues were happening, what marriage was getting a little crowded, I just thought, maybe I should do my own thing. And so I'm not saying I was a saint and I was an angel. I messed up a lot too in that marriage. And so I felt like I needed to be selfish at that point and figure out what Camille wanted. And so a good friend of mine, we had broken up it was a year then. And then my friend was like, hey, why don't you, move to Irvine, live with me. I'm looking for a roommate. There's a Kaiser like right up the street. And I'm like, oh, bet. I'm like there, right? And so I get the job. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I didn't know that you could transfer. And it was just a cool thing. This never happened to me before. I was independent, and finally.
Selling drugs.
Like literally, right?
Yeah.
Dope.
Exactly. But I was licensed,
Legally.
Yeah, legally. Yeah. It was awesome, and I found who I was, and I that's when I discovered there was an outside world other than Lancaster. And then when we had decided to get back together, I said, look, like I'm not like if you're gonna get back together with me, we gotta live in Orange County. And he was like, okay, cool, I'm there. So we've been together ever since, and we've traveled. He's really good at. I don't know if you guys are good at the traveling, like taking care of that, but my husband is really good at doing that stuff. And I just take care of the schedule. And he I don't know if this is TMI, but he does the travel scheduling and like takes care of the arrangements for that because he wants to make sure I'm not going to be on my thing. So that's what his reason.
Bro, I never thought about that. Chris,
yeah,
you're a hero. You're a hero. Genius. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Right?
What a skill.
Hey, dude.
So
I mean,
he knows when I'm going to have it more than I am.
You want to have fun. It's part of the package.
Exactly.
Trip package.
So
somebody needs to put a tracker like that. Look, TripAdvisor. Or whatever, like
that's amazing.
If this is something that you start to consider TripAdvisor, where you can like monitor, and predict
or partner with
accuracy, on the scheduling of that stuff.
Put in the Apple Watch. Maybe they can put in the Apple Watch.
Hey, you better pay. You better pay. You better pay the Hitas. If that's something, dude, that's genius. I am not a planner, so I respect that. I just like, when are we leaving and how many pairs of underwear I need to take, babe? Like, you tell me.
I like to think I can plan stuff until I actually have to do it. And the ball gets all the way dropped. I'm a last minute. All right, what are we doing? Okay. Last minute type of guy.
Yeah. No, my wife has a checklist, bro. Like, she'll start planning something 3-4 weeks out, and she'll have a list of things we need, and she'll have a designated part of the house, like, so she can start putting the stuff in the same spot and check it off. Like, I can't do that stuff.
When women start talking about stuff like that in front of my husband, I'm like, be quiet. Because like, now he's gonna be mad
Raising
at me.
the bar, huh?
He's like, don't worry, I got that. Don't even trip. He's like, I got it.
Dude, I could throw everything in like a 5-gallon Glad bag and just be like, good. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not the planner, but
I like to think I'm good, but I'm not. And then when the plans don't go like as planned, I get all butthurt, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with the plan, so I can't even be mad. I can't really be mad besides.
Well, you could have. You chose not to, though, right? Yeah, so you got to roll with the punches. Me, I'm good with just rolling with the punches. My wife likes to do activities, but like if we're on vacation, like I honestly don't mind sleeping in and chilling out. But she's like, no, we got to go out. We got to sightsee. I want to go on a hike and this and that. And think it's different
see.
definition of
Yeah.
vacation. Because sometimes for me, I'm like, man, I want to chill out. Let's order some room service. Like, I don't even want to get out of bed.
See, that's why I have to start planning vacations now. Not the whole travel like arrangement, but now I have to start planning the vacations because that's what my husband wants to do, and I'm the one that's like, I want to go on a hike, and he's like, why do you want to walk for so long and look at stuff like?
It's only Hawaii.
I
Like,
know. I'm like,
let's just go to the store. They have postcards. You can see all of the sites. Like, it's like a highlight reel, huh? Like in the little round thing.
Yo, man.
That's a good reel idea, actually. That should be your first one.
Activities, man. Oh my gosh.
Wait, what do you mean?
with the
How?
artists?
Elaborate on that.
Okay, so my idea of doing a reel, because I got inspired by that. So you could literally be like a reel of like all the postcards on the rack and just like spin it. And then your caption can be like, you know, something either funny, inspiring, or, you know, motivational or something like that. I was going for something funny. So you're more witty. You're faster at like being witty than I am. So you could probably come up with a caption, but like imagine it like spinning. And then like that could be like a dream that you've been wanting to do for so long or whatever. And then all of a sudden like the reel turns into like actually there. Or like the beginning, like I'm gonna go to this place, or like, you know, one day I'm gonna be here and this place and that, and it's just spinning and spinning. And then like have I don't know, my goal is to travel the world in a year or something, like whatever, like, you know,
Right.
just be creative like that and just have fun with it. Don't even like worry about other people, like what they're doing and how creative they are. You'll never like be as creative like that. The value of the message is the most important. And like people can like watch your journey from the beginning. That is like what people are attracted to, because they see you like, oh, like, you know, they're just starting out and they're in the same spot as me. And that's why it's important when you talk to the camera that you imagine you're talking to the person, which is your old self, or the person that you needed, you know, or the person that needed you. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? So
it 100% does. Guys, this is why we're excited for you guys to hear from Camille, because I don't think we talked about I don't think we talked about your transition from pharmacy tech, right? Is that what you said? Pharmaceutical tech to kind of your area of expertise now. And I mean, Camille wears a bunch of hats. She's incredible in different areas, but specifically we wanted to talk about branding and leveraging social media and stuff like that. So she just dropped a huge nugget. How much do you think about, like you said, I was just inspired by that, the spinning thing. Like how much of your thought process just goes towards inspiration? Is it something that's constantly on your mind? Okay.
All day long. And it's fun for me. You know, it's just like, it's exciting. Even if I don't do anything about that and I write it down, or I cheer that person on that did something that inspired me, that's like cool for me. But when you're building a business, you need to apply everything that you any kind of message that you, whether you're a believer and you have faith, like I have faith and I believe in God. So whenever God gives me a message, he's like, Camille, like I gave this to you for a reason, like you need to move. And when you don't, that's when you're like kind of slapping him in the face a little bit, because someone else needed to hear that message. And make it funny. I like to make things fun. I like to make things light. I can be serious too, but you know, it's not as fun. But you just have a little mixture of it, whatever. And but it's all day, and it's because I crave it. I love it, you know. So
that's fascinating.
So with doing that, like making things fun, and so is that like a part of kind of creating like an identity of a brand?
Okay.
So is that a totally different thing, or because I was trying to figure that out? You know, I was like, well, how does somebody create like a brand identity? Like, what's the
formula?
What's the formula of creating whatever brand that you want for yourself? But how does somebody kind of create their own identity and be consistent with that? Because I think sometimes I'd be all over the place. Personally, sometimes I'm all over. One time, I'll take a picture of this. It'll be posted on a page. It'll be a picture of that. It'll be posted on a page. It'll be a story,
and then a month later, it's like no one hears from you, right? Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. Like Tommy was asking with the transition of the businesses that what I've done, like the transition to what I'm doing now. as a pharmacy technician, I was not happy in my marriage, right? So that was a really dark time in my life. And I had postpartum depression and all this stuff. I wasn't diagnosed with it, but I knew something was wrong.
Sure.
And so this depression was on and off for 10 years. And so, yeah.
That's a long
It was
time.
a long time. And it's dark. It's a dark place. And, when it tries to creep up, and I'm just like, no, get out of here. But when I was in the pharmacy, I wasn't happy because of my marriage. But when I was at work, I was thriving. I loved it. Like, people hated me at work. And I loved it that they hated me, because I love that they hated me. But at the same time, I want to be everybody's friend. But when I tried to be everybody's friend, that's when I got in trouble, because they would do the backstabbing. There was a lot of politics and, seniority and all this stuff. It was terrible. I could have quit so many times, but I didn't, because I'm like, no, I'm here for my family. I'm here for me. And so my marriage wasn't doing good. And this lady, she has a MLM. It was an MLM, and it was a skincare company, makeup company. She invited me to this event, and I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'll support you, whatever. I've been buying from her for a long time. And I went to this event, and it would just change my life. I was like, what the heck? I didn't know that I could make my own life. Like, I could design my own life, my own job. I thought, I grew up, hey, you better be in the medical field. It's the best thing you could do. My mom's a nurse. I'm Filipino. It's
shocking.
And
that she's a nurse.
Yeah, right. And so she's like, you got to do this. You got to get a big girl job, all this stuff. And for so long, I wanted to be a photographer, and it just didn't happen, because I had to have a baby. I was growing a family. So I put that dream on the shelf, I put that away. And then when I discovered this whole entrepreneurship thing, oh my gosh, my life was forever changed. I started to do more personal development. I started to really love myself more, and started seeking my faith more. It was just all around the best thing ever. But, the business model, I didn't really like it. I felt like, I was like, God, like, is this wrong if I quit this? Like, I just don't feel right. There's something else. And I had a baby. I had my second, and then I had my third. And it was like back to back. Yeah, it was back to back, and it was so great. But then I was just like really heavy. I was borderline obese. The doctor was like, you're borderline obese. You really need to watch your weight. And so I was stressed out. It was the most stressful pregnancy I've ever had. And now my son, who was in my belly at the time, he has autism. And I always I know, God, I forgive myself for whatever it is, but I hope that's not the reason, but I really believe that when you're stressed out, when you're pregnant, it's you have to start from the wound, really loving that baby, so, oh my gosh, I don't want to get emotional.
That's okay.
So, anyway, so when that happened, I was overweight, and I was like, what can I do? And so my friend, I saw her post something, she's doing a fitness challenge. I was like, oh, I want to do it. And so I got excited again. Something sparked in me. And I actually was a fitness coach, online fitness and nutrition coach, for 3 years. I did the makeup and skincare industry for 3 years. And then I tried to build a fitness industry online coaching with another MLM company. I did that for 3 years, and I loved it. But the margins were super low, and it just wasn't providing for my family the way I was picturing it. And I was like, maybe I should be a physical trainer. But people would get on my nerves when they don't do what I asked them to do. I'm not sorry.
No, that's fine.
It was just upset me at the time. I'm okay. I've grown from that. But it just really, that's not me. I can't do it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should be a doula and all this stuff. But during all this time of entrepreneurship, I was doing masterminds, spent thousands of dollars, where we did a year mastermind, my biggest investment in trying to build a business. With her name is Lisa Sasovich. She amazing woman. She's trained Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins have trained her. She knows Brian Tracy and all these really the pioneers of society, of the world today. And I did her program for a year, and it was really awesome. And I've been able to use my skills and the things that I've learned to teach other people how to price their packages, how to create an e-commerce business, how to build an online library of workshops, monetization, automation, and all this different things. I've learned that from not just that year, but the things that I've done over time. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 11 years. But when I had my fourth baby, I just didn't feel like I should be a fitness trainer because like I said, we would just get on my nerves, and everything was for free. If it wasn't for free, it wasn't worth it. I'm like, really? So I had my fourth baby, and I said, what can I was pregnant with her. I saw my same friend that did the fitness thing. She's a photographer, and I've always wanted to be a photographer. So I said, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to be a professional photographer. So I got into wedding photography, and I started to build my own business. And that's when I spent more investments on how can I make this like go faster. So I spent thousands of dollars on building a business that is predictable, which I'm going to talk about today, which is very important when you're trying to create a brand. You know, it's not just about being creative; it's about having a system. And when you don't have a system, you're not going to last. And I think Tony Robbins said it's like 80% of businesses don't last like more than 5 years or something like that, or more than 10 years, and they quit. You know, so I was really excited to build photography, but I resigned from Kaiser. I quit at Kaiser, right? And because I wanted to be home with my kids, my two boys weren't talking. They were on the spectrum at the time. One of them just delayed in speech, but I just felt like, okay, God was calling me to be home with my kids. So I did. I was like, took that leap. I was like, okay, God, like everybody thought I was crazy. Why would you leave Kaiser? You know, it's a good job. It's good benefits.
They always do. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was just on me about that. And I said, listen, I need to do what's right for my family. Like money to me is like energy. Like it'll come and go in waves and flows. Like I didn't look at money like that, but I knew that being a personal trainer online, it just wasn't. I wanted my license. I wanted to be more credible, and I would have to go through school and that. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go to school, you know? And so when I was a photographer, my time was ripped away from me again. And I was like on like call almost, you know, like, oh, I'll do this for you, like no problem, or like, oh yeah, I'll do it for you, super discounted, and like all this stuff. Like just my confidence was high, but then it was like going up and down, because as a creative and artist, you're constantly wanting someone to say, oh, I love your work, because you do it's your art. And if somebody doesn't like your work, then you're gonna get they want their money back, or you know, they're never gonna hire you again. I mean, that's never happened to me, but that was like in my mind, like the worst thing that could happen. Oh my gosh, I don't want someone to not like my work, you know? And so my husband one day, he was like, Camille, what happens if you like break your leg or something? Are you still gonna get paid? And that was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? I'm like, God, like I thought I was living my life, like my dream life. Like, is this not it? And so I prayed really hard. I said, God, what can I do that I can be around my family, have my time back, all this, you know, things that I want to live and like do, and be a philanthropist and travel the world with my kids? How do I do that? What kind of job is that? And that's when I learned about the financial industry, and like this particular company that I'm with, I love what that we're in, you know, I love it. It's given me permission. Jamie, I owe so much to her, even though I don't even talk to her, but she's given me permission to put my family first for the first time. Sorry, but it's just like incredible, you know? So when it comes to what I do now, it's an old industry. Like, man, this needs to evolve, right? And so when I came in, I was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, you know? But I had to check myself real fast because I'm not a broker yet, you know? And when you get to a certain level, yeah, you can change things all you want, but you know, that's the importance of the business that we're in. Like, it's just about being coachable, and to me, I'm like, well, how can I still be my creative self? Because I thrive when I'm creative and I'm being inspired. So how can I weave that in to what I'm doing now? And so I'm asked to do trainings, and I'm able to do my PowerPoint, or like someone will say, oh, how do you do social media? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to talk about it. And so I record my trainings now, and I give the link to people. And so that way I don't have to repeat myself, like do it over and over. Monetization.
Oh, you've automated it.
And so, yeah, and that's what I've been doing with the business, because I mean, I still want to work smarter, but also harder. I don't believe in just working smarter. You have to work hard too.
Yeah, you got to do both.
You got to do both. And,
Get on that plow.
Yeah, it's all about ROI. Brendan Burchard talks about this equation, ROI. Have you guys seen it? It's brilliant.
Probably.
It's brilliant. So basically, like,
What was the name?
Brendan
Brendan
Burchard.
Brenda Bouchard.
He wrote a book called the High Performing Habits. High Performing Habits. It's like a thick book, but it's so worth it. Anyway, so he talks about ROI and like how it has to be greater than these the terms. So T for time, E for energy, R for relationships, M for money, and S is sanity, which is like the most important thing. So the ROI has to be greater than all those other things on the other side. And so when I started, like, because I do this all the time, I'm always going to workshops. I'm always learning from other people who've paved the way before us, whether they're in our company or not. I've been doing it for years, and I feel like that's why I've done the work. I've done the hard stuff. I've gone through the hours of it, and that's why I'm able to provide, value
As far as
to
the
people.
development, you've gone through
Yeah.
the development.
Yeah.
And you sought out a platform where you can
Mm-hmm.
implement it. It sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And so people, call me for advice and stuff like that. But the thing is, like, I'm always such a people pleaser. I always want to help everybody else. So recently, I just discovered I need to build on my brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that brand is, I have a ministry as well that I minister women on Thursdays at 5 a.m. every week. And God put that in my lap. I'm like, oh my gosh, you sure you want me to do this? So it's been amazing. These women are so grateful for that time that we spent together. And I'm able to do one-on-one sessions with them. And it's been a really big change in my life. And I feel like wherever you decide to do, if you want to create a brand or work for somebody, just go for it and see how it goes. And if you don't like it, change your mind. Like, no big deal.
Well,
But at the same time,
from a content creator and a brand creator and an entrepreneur and stuff like that, obviously in business, marketing is important.
Yeah.
But the what people purchase generally in business, at least in like the franchise model and stuff, is the brand that's been developed. So for individuals that are looking to build something on their own, right? Like, I think that's what Alex was asking. What would you say is the formula to building that brand? Like, what is there a set of pillars that you need to get familiar with that you want to represent, and then based on the, like, you understand what I'm saying?
I
So
see
like,
what you're saying.
what is that formula in that process? Obviously you want to find the right platform and something that you
Right.
can stand behind, which I think was the point you were making. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like setting down and game planning, what does that look like? And I'm asking because I struggle with this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what is it that I want to represent?
Right.
I'm also a man of faith. I'm a husband. I'm a father. And those are like the three best parts of my life.
Yeah.
But how do I present that or package that to where I become attractive? Because I'm also, like, looking to build and establish a solid business and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of people right now, especially, that are kind of in the same boat. So
Yeah.
how would you say, like, would be step one in figuring that part out?
Well, first of all, like, personal development, you guys know that that's like super key. Because when you do I always say, when people are like, oh, Camille, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of content. I'm like, well, are you doing personal development every day? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, if you do, then you won't ever run out of anything, to be honest. But another thing too that's really important is, like, what industry do you want to work in, right? Like, if it's an opportunity, then go for it, right? Like, if it you're not passionate about it yet, but you just want to see how it goes, I always say, if it's an opportunity, you need to find something to be passionate about in it. And that, like, some people have to work for somebody else because they're not entrepreneurial. They don't have that belief yet, or
Yeah, we need
you know what I mean?
employees.
Yeah, we need employees. Exactly. Like, who's gonna like, like, serve me, dinner, and, like, when you go to a restaurant, or who's gonna, like, come and clean the house, like, when
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah,
like,
necessary for sure.
yeah, like, seriously. So the thing is, like, when you have whatever you do, whether it's Mike, I think, what was that guy from Dirty Jobs? What's his name?
Oh, Mike Rowe.
Mike
Mike
Rowe.
Rowe. You guys, if you guys have not seen this interview,
Hey, Mike, if you want to come on the podcast, man, holla
Man,
at
let us know what it do.
I know.
Mike. Don't play with us out here, Mike. Let us know what it is.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, I love that guy though.
If you look it up. It's about opportunity versus like a job or something. I forget what it's called. I'm gonna send it to you guys. But basically, it's about differentiating between getting a job. Yeah, find it.
Go ahead.
differentiating.
I'll put it in the description
from,
too, so people can look at it.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's so smart. So differentiating from like a job, like a dirty job, right? And your passion. So when I heard him say this, it was back in like 2016, 2015. I was in my fitness training. I was like, oh, I like what I do. I'm passionate. Yeah, I'm fit. Like I'm so awesome. Like this is so you guys need to feel like me. I was like, so it was not the way I am right now. So
what he says is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it says, don't pursue your passion, chase opportunity.
Exactly. And when I heard him say that, I was like, wait, I'm interested. And look, check this out. When other people have seen that, you should have seen comments like, that's wrong. Like, this is like blasphemy. Like, that's like, why would you even say stuff like that? People were talking about it. Like, why? Of course, follow your passion. I believe Mike, when he said that, like, I know, hey, Mike, I believe him when he said that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I was at Kaiser as a pharmacy technician because it was an opportunity. And I was like, I won't be able to put food on the table if I don't have this job.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a photographer, So when I did this job, I found something I was passionate about. And I believe that you can if you only open up your heart to do it. Like someone who takes out the trash or cleans like animal poop for a living or, cleans drains, like, did they really want to do that when they were a kid? Maybe not. But maybe they just had, and then they found the good workers at a job, they love what they do. Mm-hmm. They want to do it. But not everybody wants, to be an employee. But that's why they're meant, the ones that don't want to be an employee, they're meant for entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think that for one, it doesn't matter what industry you're in or what job you have, but say you're building a brand. And you're like doing your job, right? Because you need to. You have to provide for your family. But say you want to build something on the side, or maybe you're starting from scratch and you're like, you have no job experience, but you want to be like the next Gary Vee or whatever it is. You have to identify who it is that you want to speak to. Like what industry do you want to be? Like what industry is going to complement that message? And you have to have some kind of value to give. And I'm not saying like I went to this 4-day retreat. Personal development retreat. It was awesome. This girl, I was talking about my story, and I've been through a lot, and we really opened up. It was like my second family. She came up to me and she's like, man, Camille, like, I wish, like, hearing your story, like, I wish I had gone through some kind of terrible stuff because I don't have anything. Like, how am I supposed to share anything? I didn't go through what you went through, and, what kind of value can I give? I'm like, that's your story right there. Like, you can, whatever it is that you want, like, you can do that. Like, whatever situation you've been in, you can turn that into something. Because my girlfriend, Brittany, I love her to death. Brittany Green Connerly, she's amazing. I should get you guys together because she's amazing. She talked about it the other day. There's a difference between skill set and gifts. So when you have a gift, you better answer that call. Answer the calls that are knocking on your door. And if you miss it, God's going to have someone else do it. And so when it comes to skill set, when you are going through the motions of figuring out what you want to create, who you want to be, what kind of business it is, and all that stuff, if you feel your skill set taking over and you're feeling that pressure in your chest, like it's literally in your chest, and you're like trying to be like, eager about it and trying to rush things and control things, you have to be able to know when to release that pressure and know that the difference between a gift and a skill set. And, not to say that skills aren't needed. They are, they are. But when it comes to your gifts, that's what you can build on. That's why I say when you build, I'm always big about building a predictable business. I was talking to Alex about it the other day. Like, you have to build a predictable business and see where the creativity can come in, see where the fun can come in, see, how you can weave God into there if you want, like I am, but, which is important to me. But if it's important to you, then, you can weave those things in there. So.
But that's part of your pillars, right? Is that fair to say? Like, so one of yours is obviously faith, having some fun,
yes,
right? And then, whatever your natural skill set is, so you would say, or your natural gift. I'm sorry, your natural gift.
Your God-given gifts.
God-given gifts.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it's interesting to me. Like, there's a lot of people that may have gifts, but they might not know exactly what their gift is.
That's true.
But it's somewhere in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's certain, and some people may be able to see your gift before you do.
That's right.
So how can I don't know. I don't even know if this is even possible.
No, I hear what you're saying.
But how does somebody figure out what their gifts
That's
are?
a really good question, because a lot of people have that same question. I just did
I want to know.
Yeah, for real. So there's this book, okay? It's called Becoming a Vessel God Can Use. And now I did this with the Bible study that we do on Thursday mornings. We did this book, it's a 12-week guide book. And it talks about, it's not about like how good you are or how amazing you're going to be, whether you want to be a speaker or you want to be rich or anything like that. It's about being available for God. And that's why when you're available, you're going through the motions. You know, you're content with your daily bread. You're content with your day. And when you see too much in the future, too much where you're not living in the present, that's when you know, like, you got to do some self-work. You know, you got to do some reflection and all that stuff. Personal development. That's why personal development is like super key. But like I said earlier, when you have a job and you're going through the motions and you become passionate about something about that job, something else might spark up. But that's what it is. It takes action. Like just doing. I always say the act of doing brings confidence. I should like put that on a shirt. But like
put on a t-shirt.
Put on a t-shirt. Yeah. And then so when you're in the act of doing things, you're just gonna naturally find your gifts, and then you get excited. And you know, if you're a faithful person, you talk to God as much as as we all could, and like really are open to doing. God's gonna guide you. You know, He's gonna guide you in the direction that you should be going, to be available. You know, to do things in His glory. And so that's what I believe. You know, and if you're not a faithful person, like you don't believe, you're not a believer, totally fine. I'm not gonna be like, oh, can't talk to you. You know, it's not like that. But same thing though. It's an energy, right? It's like believing.
It could be whatever you want to call it. You can call it energy. You can call it the universe. You can call it.
Yeah. But it's all about believing in yourself.
100%.
If you just believe in yourself and just like trust yourself, and how you trust yourself is by finishing what you started. You know, saying keeping your word, stuff like that. Stuff like that, you know. So that's the biggest thing, is to really just to identify like what it is like you want to share if you were gonna do a business. I know like this one girl, she's like 14 or 15 years old. She made pillows. She has an e-commerce business making pillowcases, and pillowcases, and she made $40,000 in like 6 months. It's insane.
On pillowcases?
Yeah.
I got a lot of old pairs of drawers that are like broken, a soft material. Oh my God. It's that what? Kawanda? What'd you say? What'd you call your t-shirt?
Wakanda. It's full of dying.
Softest pillowcase ever.
Look, Rebecca, you gotta get your man some. Your boy over here needs some new.
Hey, recycled. We call it being green.
Oh
my people. No, so I mean, all that stuff is fascinating. Again, for me, it's something that, and it's probably the fact that I tend to overthink naturally. You know, as far as like, what is it that I want to put out there? Like, what's that package look like? And I've written it down and crumbled it up and thrown it out. And I guess the missing piece is probably the action, right? And taking the action. But we've tried to do things, my wife and I, and you know, kind of share our journey and have conversations and give parental ideas, you know, and stuff. And I don't know, I just get frustrated. And I don't know if there's like a high expectation of return or, you know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm worthy of trying to like help people when it comes to that, because we don't have a perfect we gotta have a pretty good marriage, but you know, like I don't know what it is. So that's what I was trying to like get you to give me, like, right? Yeah, like, hey, what is it that people can do? You know, and there's probably not one, but I guess from a brand standpoint, the most important part, from what I've gathered, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just knowing what you want to represent.
Yeah, and not like, going outside of that. Not going outside of your values, you know, sticking to your values. And I believe that like God is going to line that up, and anything that is deviating from that, if you are doing the spiritual work, you're going to know what's not aligned, and it's just going to filter itself out, because you're like, I'm focused. Here we go. I'm doing this. I'm available for you. Where should I go? And I ask that every time. I don't expect anything. I always ask, like, how can I navigate through this conversation before I talk to this person? How can I make light of the situation? How can I be there if they just need me to listen? You know, all these things. And it takes so much pressure away, honestly. And that's what it's about. It's not about it, yeah, seek him and seek the truth. If you want to, you know, call it truth and all that stuff, I call it truth too. But seek, you know, keep doing the work, keep researching, keep developing at the same time. Research and development, that's what it's for, you know. But you develop, you're developing with the action, right? And so my whole point with that is when you're doing that work, you just have to trust. Like, you just have to trust yourself and trust in him and all that good stuff. But I've recently came across this devotion I was reading about, you know, when you're looking for the answer, it's not just about looking for the answer. It's about following peace through that journey. So if you don't have peace with your decision, it's not the right one, period, you know? And so sometimes you're like, but that peace comes a lot from trusting in your faith too. So another thing, I just realized that the other day, it's so crazy we're talking about this, being patient, you know, the fruits of the spirit. Patience is a big one. And so when you think about patience, I was like, my mom and me, we didn't have a great relationship, you know, growing up. I didn't really see her. It was like I was on my own pretty much my whole life and just trying to figure things out. And so when I love my mom today, though, it's amazing. But that's where I'm getting at is I waited till I was in my 30s. I waited for my mom, no matter how much, like, no matter how much she wasn't there for me, and like she promised me things and all this stuff and all the things that I wouldn't want to do for my kids, like, you know, all those things. Like, I waited though. I was, whatever she asked me for something, whether it was for help or anything, I would help her. I would be right there. Oh, I need to write. Okay, I'll be right there. Anything, I would help my mom. But I waited this long, you know, and it's because I'm passionate about the love I have for my mom, and I respect her, even though, like, you know, I wasn't getting, yeah. But the thing is, that's my whole point is, are you willing to wait? Like the whole bamboo story, you know, you water it for 5 years. Are you really going to water it for 5 years? It's true. It's about action. Just keep doing it because you will see the fruit of it. But if you pause on that move that God told you to do, and you're pausing on it because you're not getting something in return, that reminds me of the story of Jacob. When was it story of Jacob when he wanted to, I read it in my kids' Bible the other day. It's basically about, like, you know, the Pharaoh guy, the Moses story. I love the Bible, but I'm not like, okay, I'm not a pastor where I went to school for it. Okay. I know the street Bible. Basically
the AV Bible, dog.
Yeah, so the story of the Pharaoh, right? He's like, yeah, okay, I will, like, I'll release all. Sorry, I'll save all. That's the first time. That's the first time.
She's slapping mics, not dropping them. She's slapping them first.
Slap the mic.
Okay. So he was like, okay, I'll let go of the slaves, right? I'll release them. As soon as and then he was like, oh no, I changed my mind. And then God was like, okay, I'm going to bring all these, like, bugs, you know, in your town or whatever. And then he didn't listen. So the fact, like, you know, you give. Okay, I gave. So, like, I'm done. So, you know.
I've done enough.
Yeah, I've done enough. So, like, we're good now. No, like, you still have to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole point is, like, having patience. Like, if you just follow the fruit of the Spirit and just focus on and building those skills, oh my gosh, like, you can have all kinds of businesses if you want. Like, my biggest dream is to be like the next Gary Vee. Maybe less curse words, but I was just going to say, you need to start cursing more.
You better start dropping them F-bombs, Camille Hita.
But I love the way he just pivots and he evolves, and he talks about this too. He's like, you know, when people are like, oh, what do you do when you make a mistake? You know, like what do you do? He's like, move on.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like you have to make mistakes, and you have to go through the trenches to be like and identify what you like and what you don't like.
Well, I think that's what paralyzes people too, though. Like from entrepreneurship or
stand on the mat.
Well, being comfortable with not getting it right. I think that's what paralyzes people. Like the tendency to overthink is because they're like, and we've talked about it, I think, probably on the podcast, where like perfection is like a cop out, right? Like I don't want to get it wrong. I want to make sure everything's right, and nothing works out that way, dude. And it's so crazy because I learned that being a parent for the first time, like, or even like when I found out we were going to be parents, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And my younger sister, man, like she's pretty smart, and she said one of those things to me that just stuck out. And she said, Tommy, you're never going to be ready. Like you've never done it before. Like you're not going to be ready, but you'll learn, right? And if your intentions are right and you have belief and those kinds of things. So, but I think that's what paralyzes most people is the fear of making that mistake. So I love that you brought that up. I mean, that was for me, because even still to this day, through all the personal development and everything we've been through, there's still that underlying fear of like, man, am I going to say the right thing? Am I, you know what I mean? Like,
right. And
those types of things.
I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. I think it's amazing, because this is going to last forever. Like your kids are going to
be out there somewhere. Huh?
Your kids are going to hear this when they grow up, and then like, your legacy, you're building it right now. Like this is like, if this isn't what your thing is, like, that's okay. Like this could be something fun or whatever this turns into, right? You never know. You might even get like someone huge, like Ed Milet on your show. It's like, whoa.
Don't play.
No, we will.
Don't play.
We will.
Right? Manifest
we'll get
that, right?
that.
Yeah,
we'll get him here. We'll get Gary on here too, and Andy
invite
Frisella.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have.
Audience,
don't forget about your girl.
we're gonna get all those guys, man. So long as you folks listening, like, share, comment, you know what I mean, subscribe, do those.
No pressure, no diamonds,
so.
man. Y'all know what it is out here, but yeah.
But I think it's great. Like, you guys are doing this, but then you're also running another business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it that way, like we all, like, I believe the reason why people, because I've done it, the reason why people don't stick to something is because they're not having fun.
I believe that. I tend to not do things daily if it's not fun.
Yeah, and that's how I am too. So
squirrel, because as soon as something else, either more
exactly.
Sometimes, I'll be honest, it's more comfortable for me to be doing at that time, or more fun, or I get a little more enjoyment, whatever. I'm like, I can do this later. I'll just squeeze it in. And
well, it's so crazy. Like even taking out the trash, like I'm like, bro, I'm serious, dude. Like I have to like try to make a game out of it. Like, all right, cool. I'm gonna like wound this thing up and like toss it. Let's see if I can make it. Or you know what I mean? Like how fast can I do it? Or set a timer. And my youngest son is kind of that way, dude. So like I'm with you. I feel that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But okay, so from like a branding and social media and leveraging this stuff, like we're in such an incredible era, Camille. Like, it just seems to be getting better and better. Where marketing is free. Gary Vee talks a lot about that, right? Like he doesn't understand how some of these major companies are still spending millions of dollars for commercials when like you can advertise on Facebook for pennies on the dollar, or to leverage Instagram and create content, become a content creator. But with that being said, when we're trying to well, not when we're trying. Let me rephrase that. So what would you say is more important, building a personal brand and becoming attractive to the people that you're looking to attract for business purposes, or presenting more business stuff and hoping that attracts people, or a blend of the two? Like, what would you say?
That's a good question. It's not really, to me, it's not really about attraction. It's about availability. Being available for people. So what I mean by that is when I've been personally branding myself, which that's what I would say, personally brand yourself, because what if you're with a company and it flops? What are you gonna do? You're gonna have to rebrand yourself, that's why whenever I talk to people that have a product, don't brand your product like so much. Talk about it, but don't really brand it like it's a commercial, like that's what their website's for. Like you need to like show the transformation of it and talk about what it's doing for you, how it's changed your life and all this stuff. But it's about being available. What I mean by that is when people, since I've been personally branding myself, I've been blogging for a long time, mini blogging on Instagram for a long time. And the most likes I get and the most comments I get is when I talk about my marriage, or I have a picture of me and my older daughter, because no one believes that she's my daughter because I had her so young. So I'm like, thank you so much. No, but she's gonna be 17, and so yeah.
Camille just said that she looks young without saying She looks young.
Because
By the
Camille
way,
looks like she's
if you
18.
didn't catch that,
Camille looks
if you didn't catch
18 years
that,
old.
I know.
the collagen
I get it
blend
all
and
time.
the beauty blend that you
Oh, thank you. But
is incredible.
the thing,
Skincare companies pending right now.
so I know, right? So I get a lot of comments and reaction from that, and so I give people what they want, like, you know. But I weave my message in there. And I feel like what you're doing with your wife, I think it's awesome. I want to do the same thing with my husband. I'm like, but he won't get on a mic. He won't get on. So you're lucky to have that. He's like, I'll show up like once a month or something. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Anyway,
You know what's funny about that is we started doing it really with no intention. It wasn't necessarily about attraction. I was like, hey, if that happens, it's cool to be a byproduct. But it was really more therapeutic for us to have this conversation with whoever's willing to listen. But really, we were kind of having a conversation with each other. And for me, it was easier to do it on the mic versus sitting on the couch.
Right.
And I don't know why, but we did that more for us. And so maybe that's a little bit of a nugget to have no intention.
That is a really good point, because it is therapeutic. And like a lot of people who they share, like, I'm just sharing my journey. I don't care, like, if I get anything out of this, I'm just sharing my journey. And all of a sudden their page is like huge. I watch people, like, I'm a pattern finder. I'm looking at like the thing and like how things are working out.
That's what we want to know, Camille.
Oh yes.
The patterns. No, I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding. No, I'm not kidding at all. Actually, that's what we hope we dive into that. But go ahead, pattern finder.
Yeah. So when you, so I think that was a really good point. That was brilliant. Yeah, so good.
Well, I for me too. People ask like, hey, like, what's the pot? That was Mr. Pessimist. You know who I'm talking about. So I'm not gonna say any names or nothing, but. Off camera, you know, he asked that question, like, so why the podcast and this and that? I'm like, well, first and foremost, dude, like, it's therapeutic for me. Like, I actually enjoy conversation. I like the sound of my own voice for some strange reason, and but I like getting it out, and I feel like the more I tend to talk, the more ideas and stuff that's somewhere up here in the Rolodex that I forget about seems to work its way to the surface, and so it's beneficial in that way for me. What was the point I was trying to make? I think that's it. I don't know.
No, but I love that you guys are doing that and you guys talk about stuff, because I like it when I hear men talking about their feeling, like, you know, what's on their chest or whatever. I like hearing that, because I feel like it needs to normalize, you know, like we can talk about our stuff, but then still be strong men, you know, strong fathers and stuff like that. But that it's okay to like, there's a good harmony about it. I don't like saying balance. I don't know if we're going to get into a whole nother topic, but just having that harmony, you know, and I think that you guys are doing it with this, so I think it's great.
I like harmony too. Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 1999. Know what I'm saying, bro?
It's the first of the
it's
not.
We on that Thuggish Rugged. What's
It's the 5th of the month, man. Man, that's fire. You know, when it was talking about, because that's what we just started even doing it just at the house, but we were just talking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally just talking, like, man, it'd be kind of cool just to, and then we just happened to do it because we realized, I don't know, we just have conversations in the office for like, gosh, we got to get it back. We've been talking for like 45 minutes. And we'd be like, oh, step, I got the support. I got to get going.
Eating out the candy jar.
Yo, that's what we need to hear, some candy right now. Don't even say that. Oh yeah, I was taking out candy in there.
I only spit facts here, man.
Oh my gosh.
But that's just what it was, and we're like, man, this is pretty interesting. We're like, man, well, you know, we have things we could just talk about, and we're like, oh, we have interesting people we know. Oh, well, hey, you know, this will be pretty cool to do, and it's just fun. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's fun to do, and there's no, to me, there's really no work involved. You know what I'm saying? You know, besides like, you know, getting some stuff. All you gotta do is get some stuff to project and on, you know what I'm saying? But that's it. And eventually, having somebody else do all the setup, you know what I'm saying? It'll be at that point one day. But even if it never got to that point, we wouldn't care, because this is just fun anyway. Fun, right? You know, so yeah, it's a blast. We have a blast.
But obviously, sponsors, we are willing to monetize. our
Right.
efforts. So
It's a fact.
holla at
That's
your
a
boy.
fact. That's a fact.
But
Yeah.
there's so much that goes into creating a brand. Like, I know you asked me to talk about building a, like how to build a brand and stuff as a creative and like, or where all that good stuff. But I love this conversation right now. It's just going, you guys are great. Like, this is like going in any way. And I love it.
Yeah, we bounce around a lot,
I
almost
love
like
it.
ADD. But
I love it. But just to give value to your listeners, I think that, if the biggest thing when building a business is, do the work, go through the motions. It's going to go up and down or whatever. Do the personal development work. Don't like skip out on yourself, on your health, like your health is so important, whether you're doing spiritual work or you're exercising, reading books, whatever, anything that you can do is really good. I think it's good. It's progress. But the second thing is like identifying what your message is, and if you do have a mess, turn it into your message. I'm sure you guys heard that. And so doing that work, you're gonna find your gifts. It's gonna reveal itself to you. But then think about it, like who is my niche, right? Everybody's like, oh, you have to find your niche, and all that stuff, because it's more specific. A long time ago,
targeted.
Yeah, a long time ago, I was like, oh no, I want to talk to everybody, and everybody needs what I do. And it was until I started getting more specific, that's when I started getting more action. And so I would say, do you guys know your Enneagram by any chance?
Excuse me?
Your Enneagram?
It's at Thomas.Solano.
I was like, Alex, stay ready, man. This is right in the description, man.
Oh wait, she didn't say Instagram. No, I don't know mine. No.
No, that's my point. So like, if you don't know, because I don't know mine either. I just know it's the 3 guys. No, but like, okay, so Enneagram is like identifying what your personality is and who you are. So I tried doing this test or whatever, trying to see who I am and stuff. It only stressed me out because I'm like, I know I'm like this though, but why is it saying I'm like this? It just stressed me out, and I don't like stuff like that. But when you have a simple test like the STAR one, structure, so simple, it's like to the point. I love that one.
I'm Arst.
Arst. I think, yeah, I am too.
ARST.
Yeah, I am too. And so when it comes to identifying your personality, it's just getting to know. Those are just fun little things that you can do, to identify who you are, who your niche is. If you need a little like support, like some motivation, inspiration, stuff like that. There's this one I wanted to tell you guys about. It's called taplink.cc. And it said on the top link, it says take the new quiz, and check this out. Okay, I took the test, right? It was like 5-10 minutes. So the reason why I did it is I wanted to see what it is. I'm a pattern finder, right? So I'm like, ooh, what do I do here? What's going on? And so I took this test, and the majority of who I am and like my tendencies is an architect. And so I was like, wait, and the creative was like kind of small. And I was wondering why is it like that? Because I've always been an artist. Like I've always loved like artsy stuff. Like photography is my jam. Like videography is my jam. I love film, but I'm not a film videographer. But I just love it so much. Like, why is it so small? And so I thought about it, and it's because when I think about like doing photography again,
you're building something in your mind.
Yeah, like no, but like when I think about photography again, like at my stage of my life right now, it doesn't really excite me. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I say when you go through these ebbs and flows of like life and stuff, you don't have to like stick to what you originally said you were going to do. If you change your mind, that's fine. But when I started learning about architectural things and like just like thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder why I love strategizing business. I love talking about how to create your package. I love how to create a system, how to make it predictable, talking about what does your presentation look like, what's your pricing, your contracts, like planning for the future, like projects, like all these different things. And I'm like, no wonder why I'm an architect. Like I'm more architect minded. And so I got me one of those architect like tubes on Amazon. And I'm like gonna like create like this whole thing because I love fun, right? So I'm gonna lay out this big paper and start like blueprinting my life of what I want in my life, and it's like a vision board,
Snap. Yeah.
Yeah, and roll that thing up, stock it, and roll it out when I, bring my kids involved, and yeah.
So I want to, if you don't mind, go back to, so you had kind of laid out three things, right? Like the personal development and then your niche, and what was the other thing you said?
Your message,
okay, yeah. So in that process, is there documentation? Would you say the documentation of that journey is important to put out there and make that part of it, or do you do all three of these things separate of what you actually put out as far as content?
I did that with fitness. And I was starting out and everything like that. But more so with what I'm doing now, I talk about that too, like I'm going for a promotion right now and like stuff like that, or like, oh, I'm going through this class. So I do that, I guess. I share it. But when you document it, it is very important. You guys heard it. The person who tracks, what is it? The person who tracks their business. What is it? You know what I'm saying? The person who tracks their business is like the one who wins or whatever. The trackers are the.
Well, I just talked about it literally this morning.
You did, huh?
I literally talked about it this morning, and I cannot think
I can't think. It's like not coming in here. But
I should have bought you a Bang, bro. Dude, I feel like I'm talking funny, by the way, right now. Bang energy, because like I got this wild and watermelon, man, is kicking in right now.
Oh my gosh. No, but it's very important to document it. Whether you document it on social media or, make video. It's a video world today. Like who cares if you have a fancy camera? It doesn't matter. Like people want to see, like I said, that realness. That's why when people are like, oh, Camille, like I want all my pictures like really beautiful, like the aesthetics. I'm like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Because people want to see real.
I know it's so tough too, dude. Because I've taken pictures like first thing when I wake up in the morning, and I take a picture, and people are like, "Oh my god, who did your makeup?" And I'm like, "Nah, dude, this is natural. #no filter, sucker." I'm kidding.
So tracking
never happened. Has never happened one time, and never will.
Gosh.
Tracking it. So documenting and tracking and putting those things out, is that almost like kind of a form of it's almost like a public accountability.
Yeah, exactly. You're declaring something, and you're holding your people are holding you accountable. Not really like
okay.
Like
not if you don't do this, then this is gonna happen. But it's more like, oh well, now people know that you're in the game,
right?
Or at least in a game,
right?
Of whatever journey you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you look like you're at the same point,
I know,
like
right?
if you, in the same point,
Mm-hmm.
Say a year or whatever, however long that timeline is, like, oh, well. So it's like, so people now know.
Right.
It's like a public declaration. I like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that when you do that, you're just being real about it, and people are more likely to want to, follow you and have those conversations. The right people, the right people who are just like desperate for something better for their life. They see you going through the motions. You're giving them hope, that they can do it too. You're initially giving permission to people that they can do it too.
So knowing your audience, right? So basically knowing your audience or
Yeah.
your client or who you're trying to help. And all right, so now I know my audience, right?
Yeah.
So now I know my audience. I know, so I know what I want to do. I know who I want to get in contact with. Now, what do I do? I know the people I want to deal with. I know what I'm doing, or at least I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Now, what next now? Like what,
Identify your strengths and what you're good at, and then identify the things you can outsource. But if you're on a budget, obviously like every person like is on a budget starting out, right? So do with what you can. Maybe collaborate, do collaborations. I am like the queen of collaboration. I love collaborating with people. It's so much fun. And there might not be a payout in it, but it's the experience that you get too. But then you can use that but you have to like keep moving forward, like keep doing it, like keep doing the work, and keep identifying like building that income, even if you did something like not overprice your stuff for now. But it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're a coach, whether it's an e-commerce, if it's an e-commerce, you have to like have your products out there, right? So if you're going to have a brand with products, you should have products to sell, right? And then if you're a coach and say you want to do online coaching, create some videos and maybe, but you got to be a little bit unique. You got to be a little bit different and a little professional, right? So that's one case when somebody buys something of your service and they see, like, I look at that stuff because I'm like, I've been a photographer for a long time, so I'm like, if it's professional, I'm like, oh, cool, like, this is good. And it ends up not being something great, I'm like, dang it, I wasted my money. But at least, like, I've done that before where I wasted my money. But the thing is, like, if you're sharing on social media every day, which is a free marketing tool, you can just do a regular video. Not everything has to be so crisp and so like perfect all the time, because you're giving other people permission to think the same way. And that's something that doesn't create belief in people. It makes people think that they can't do it, just like how you're saying.
Yeah.
And then just so I would say when you're if whatever industry or business you're in, it just depends on what that looks like. But if you're like in a company that's already established, I would say that picture. I would say definitely just be yourself and show what it is.
Oh, you see my face?
You're over here snapping
I was
GTS.
being myself, yo. No, that's not how you call me, is it? 'Cause I was like that. I try to make a crooked face.
Oh my gosh. I love it, man.
I don't smile well.
Yeah, but
Look at
let me see.
this fool's face.
Oh, I look mad.
Oh my
Yeah, we
God.
should put that
Gosh.
real serious over here.
Real.
Man. Real
Everybody all like,
serious.
yeah.
It's all business in here, dude.
Oh, dude.
Hey, that started happening once I shaved my head, man. I got to play the part.
I know he stands with his feet like this
Be
now.
mean
All
mugging.
not pigeon toe. What's that?
I'm ready to see walk.
You ever said?
What's that? I'm just kidding, man. I don't know how to do that.
Oh my gosh, man! So now it's the what was he said? As you said, the it's taking action,
Yeah.
right? Of course, that's. Oh my gosh!
You said
But you can-
you said
okay,
it's
so
a
let me-
video world. You said it's a
Yeah,
video world.
It's a
so
video world.
okay.
So just like create content. Just create content. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. Just like put value out there that is actually shareable. I talk about this in the social media workshop I did, but you just do something that's shareable because you want it to go viral, because it's a message that is going to serve somebody and you wish you knew a long time ago, kind of thing. So having that content is very, very, very important. It's not about how many followers you get or all these whatever. Like, that stuff will come, but you got to have the value, right? You got to have, like, if people come to Alex Rose's Instagram or, your Instagram, they're going to know exactly what you're going to provide because they've gained the value from you already, if that makes sense. So they'll always come back knowing what to expect. So that's why you have to be consistent with your message and not go outside of your values,
Question 2. When it comes to,
I know it's hard. It's hard to think about because it's a lot of work. You gotta sit down and look at all this stuff.
Yeah,
because there's so much nuance, right? Especially somebody's, whether it's offering a product or a service.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, say, somebody's brand new at offering, say, a service to somebody, a group, or how do they gauge their price? This is something that's it's very nuanced. It depends on the person, depends on what's going on. But how does somebody gauge their pricing to somebody? You know what I mean? To make sure it's like, even if they're brand new to doing it, maybe they have experience, but they're brand new to maybe being on their own.
Yeah.
How does somebody really gauge, like, well, shoot, what's fair, or what's fair to me? You know what I mean?
Right,
So how does somebody get, and I know that could be a loaded question depending on whatever it is, but like, that's something I think about, because some things that somebody would be saying, well, yeah, like, for somebody to have utilize my service, I'm charging $20,000, and then somebody says, yeah, well, I'm $2,000 or whatever it is, or 20, whatever it is. But how does somebody really gauge their pricing?
Their pricing.
Yeah,
that's a good question. So for any entrepreneur that has a service or especially a service that or a product, that's where like, you know, you really have to do research as far as what's the market doing, like what are other, like say you're trying to build a, you know, pillowcase, like, you know, line, like what are other price on
Thomas,
pillowcases, you
let's
know,
get it,
and how you can
let's get it out here.
how you can how you can compete with a pillowcase company if that's what you really want to do. Like say like this person, you're like set, you're gonna make a pillowcase brand.
Know your competitor.
Yeah, you look at your competitors, right? But you have to, that's where the professional pictures come in. Like you go on Amazon, you look at the same pillowcase, but this person has better pictures and the other person just like has one. Who are you gonna buy from? But it's the same price. Who are you gonna buy from?
Who are you gonna call out here?
So that's when like you have,
Well, you attach quality to the quality
exactly. Exactly. And that's when you have an e-commerce. But if it's like photography or, you know, being a creative, like you have to look at your equipment. You have to look at how much time does it take you to edit? How much time does it take you to take the pictures, and how much direction are you, how good are you at directing people? You know, all these aspects of your experience. What does that, like, what does all that entail? And look at how much you want to be paid, but at the same time you have to be realistic. If it's your first year doing it, you know, you don't want to charge like $5,000 for a wedding, for example, because people will ask you, how many weddings have you done? Because you're not marketing yourself. You're not putting in your content, your portfolio.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you, man. I'm giving you a good price right now.
Right. So I always say, if there's anything I could tell a creative, whatever kind of, whether it's video, film, or anything, is do at least 3 really quality, like high quality clients, and blast the crap out of it. Like market those 3, because it's your ideal client. It's your ideal like vision of what you want more of, and you want to put out what you want more of. So some people are like, I have dogs, and then some people have babies, and some people have like weddings and engagement, and it's like, oh my gosh, this photographer does everything. A wedding person who does weddings, or who's gonna get married, they're more than, they're willing to spend the money. They're not gonna go to somebody who does everything. They're gonna go to somebody who does
specializes in what they're looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why give yourself the grace to just focus on one niche, because you want more of it, right? So it's okay. The right clients will come, and price it the way you want to price it, but do your research. Like I had a mentor, Lisa Sasovich. She charged at the time $13,000 an hour to talk to her. Now think about that, okay? She deserves that because she talked to Tony Robbins on, like, she probably calls him like, hey, wait, what are you guys eating tonight? You know, like that's how close she is to
$4,500.
Yeah.
Conversation, $4,500.
What's the answer worth to you?
Yeah, they probably do that. Yeah. So, you know, just thinking about it that way, it's like, man, if I was a coach, that's why monetization, that's why they're able to market their prices for like a workshop online. It's kind of low, like maybe less than $400, maybe $99. They're able to price it really low because it's monetized. But if you're going to spend time with that coach, best believe you're going to have to pay, like you're going to have to fork up more because you're spending actual real time, right? And so it's about valuing your time and really researching the market, and just starting. Even if you started like at doing a photo shoot for $150, and say you took 3 hours, yeah, you got $150, but you got the experience, and you're like, now I know what I don't want to do, and now I know what I want to do.
Oh, that's $50 an hour too, dude. Like I think there's a kind of
though,
like
the editing isn't even like,
right.
You know?
Okay, see, I'm not a photographer, so that's not something that I would calculate, right? But still, you don't. I mean, you want to value your time, but like you mentioned, like when you're first starting, it's hard to put a price on because people do want experience and things like that. But that's probably where that confusion lies, right? But I think about like buying a can of beans. Like in a blind taste test, you can follow me. In a blind taste test, you could have like 4 different types of beans, right? But you couldn't tell the difference really. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is S&W, contact us, or this is whatever, right? Like you're not going to really tell. But on the shelf, I associate quality with the one that's a little more expensive.
Right.
And so in my mind, I'm already like, oh, this one tastes better. It's better quality, right? Because the price is a little bit higher. So there's also a level of valuing what you're going to bring to the table, whether you have experience or not. And without experience, maybe some people might question it, but you could also package that too. Like, hey, listen, this is my passion. Like, I'm so fired up about this, like, and you could attach a story to that and essentially be worth the price through that. Yeah, this person has 30 years experience, but they're kind of burned out and they're just going to go through the motions. Man, I'm young. I'm on fire, right? Like, I'm going to do something for you that's never been done by anybody else.
I
and
say
you can
that
attach like,
I say that would work. I'm being realistic because it's just like in the company we're in right now. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this and that. I'm like, oh no, slowly roll. You can't because you're in training still, and that's what I'm getting at is if you're brand new and you don't really have experience, but you got mentored by like the best person in your industry, yeah, you can put more dollar signs on that. I would say that's when you can do it. But you got to humble yourself too and be like, what can I do right now? And then have a plan. In 6 months, I'm going to raise my price because I'm going to get the new Sony, whatever. Or I'm going to raise my price because I just took this workshop and it elevated my business and my mindset's like stretched. Now I have programs, we're online and offline. I'm going to raise my price now. So it's just like baby steps, but not like right off the bat.
I don't agree with you, Camille.
Yourself.
I don't agree with you, Camille. No, I mean, I understand what you're saying and I get it, but I think the challenge with people when it comes to starting entrepreneurship is realism. Well, let's be real. You have no experience here, or let's be real. And that kind of keeps people from it. So I respect what you're saying, but I would also challenge people to like, not be realistic, right? Like most people's dreams and goals are not realistic at that time, but they become realistic through the process. So you have to live somewhere in between, I think.
No, but okay, so
like if your first client, right? Like you have a mentor and stuff, but let's say your first client and you're done training in 2 months and you're good to go and you've been given all the skills you need to go out. And then your first client is you're rolling over, I don't know, maybe Southwest Airlines or something like that. And you just made a 7-figure residual income. Like realistically, that shouldn't have happened, but it did. Now, doesn't your confidence and everything just go through the roof? Now, if somebody asks you like, hey, how many clients you have? And you're like, 1. They're like, oh, you're not worth it, right? Like, I'm not going to trust you. But then you're like, hey, I have 1 client, but it's like Southwest Airlines. Yeah. And I'm managing, $30 billion for them or whatever their right. thing is. Now your value just went through the roof, but you still only have 1 client and you're fresh out of training. Does that,
So that's why it depends on your industry. It depends on what you're doing. Because when it comes to photography, you have to have a portfolio. You have to showcase something. Because if you don't, people will ask you for it and be like, oh, I don't have it. Oh, okay, well, thank you for the information. What happened?
I was saying come closer to the mic.
Oh, yeah. So
ooh, look at that. There we go.
So I was like, so I know what you're saying though, because in the coaching field or being a consultant or being a financial advisor, you just start your business. And when somebody decides to go with somebody else, it's like, dude, really? They're only like representing like only this brand, this company, and it's a crappy company, but you don't want to be like, dude, that's a crappy company. But they went with them anyway because of either loyalty or because they think, oh, they're brand new, so they're not going to be good. So I know what you're saying, because when it comes to when people say that, like, oh, how many weddings have you done? And that would hurt me because I'm like, dude, like I would rock the crap out of your wedding. You know what I mean? Like you're missing out, and my price is like super cut down. Like you're missing out. And so I would just like wipe my hands clean. I'm like, all right, dude, like you're lost. And I would just keep going. But the thing is, if it bothers you so much, that's a problem. But on top of it, when you're doing what we're doing, right, or being just a coach or consultant, period, it's bothersome when people are like, oh, you don't have, like, you only started, like, how long have you been doing this? I always ask that question. How many years have you been in it? Oh, well, I just started. Oh, cool. Like, I wish you the best of luck. Like, don't even give you a chance. So the way I turn that around is I share that with people, like when they start a business, watch it when they start a business. and they're waiting for someone to give them a chance, and they don't, because they don't have the experience or the years of, momentum or whatever, and they don't get that chance. That's just like reaping what they sow. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I just want my hands clean. Like, if people don't want to do it, it's all good. I'm not hurt by it. It's bothersome and it is annoying, because you do get that. Being an entrepreneur, starting out. But don't let it bother you. The minute you let it bother you and disrupt your peace, that's when you're not focused. You need to stay focused. Who cares? People will ridicule you all the time. Like, what is it? Jeff Bezos was in the garage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people ridiculed him, and whoever did start all these people, Oprah, all that stuff.
What I think it comes at is confidence. It's being confident in your abilities and where you're at.
Yeah.
So being confident, I think there's people move with people that are confident.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
that's good.
That's what I feel like it really comes down to. If somebody's like not confident, like somebody's, even after the fact, like say somebody did get that $30 billion, deal, right? But then after the fact, somebody's like, they're talking with somebody and they're not confident. They're like, it's a client, but I had a lot of help, and so, but it's really cool though, but I'm really excited to help you out. There's a different flow, but what I get from Thomas is like, well, shoot, being confident in your ability, or being confident in your help, being confident in the abilities of people around you, I think,
right.
Has a lot to do with it. But also knowing, sometimes not getting so far out beyond your skis too, can sometimes put people in a spot where they're like, oh, holy crap. Like sometimes, somebody can get a client and it's like, say $100,000 client, it's it's a video thing, and they had all this confidence. They said they put together a really great video package, a really good promotional video. And now they have somebody that comes to them and they're like, yeah, I have $100,000 job. But they don't have $100,000 job equipment. They don't have $100,000 job. They never done $100,000 job before. They don't have They never
fired.
Then week one, they're like, oh crap.
Right.
Yeah, way out beyond your skis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's an ebb and flow of it. But I think confidence comes from work. Confidence comes from doing.
Right.
Confidence comes from
experience
having some experience. But even I wish that was my first client.
Well, I'm just
that would be awesome.
There's a level of confidence, and obviously there's a fine line where you don't want to drown yourself. But I think that having that certainty that, like, hey, I'm going to go above and beyond, right? Like, above and beyond that's not usually, you know what I mean? You're not selling yourself short, I guess was the point that I'm trying to make. Like, and I say this because at the beginning, I was wanting to be realistic. Realistically, I don't know much about this industry. Realistically, like, all I know how to do is like make a good drink. Realistically, I shouldn't be successful at this, right? Yes, be realistic with pricing or whatever. I guess that's what we're talking about. But I think you need to be a little bit beyond that too. Like, the people that are the most attractive are the ones that are talking about their dreams. Like, no, you know what? Like, or living in their dream and saying like, hey, I can deliver on this, right? I forgot who the entrepreneur was, but it was somebody who was like, they had a budget to deliver on this job, and this job was going to pay him like $250,000, but he didn't have the resources. Was the question that whoever was interviewing him asked, like, hey, how did you get that job done if you didn't have the resources? He was like, well, that's where your thinking is wrong. He's like, I did have the resources because the job was already mine. So I could go out and I had the budget. In other words, he borrowed, you know what I mean, to make that, because the money was already his, the job was already his. So you might have $100,000 job, but you got $20,000 worth of equipment, but you can easily go out and get the rest of the equipment because the job is yours. And now you give yourself the ability to deliver.
But that's where the confidence comes from. So when you're sitting down with somebody and, proposing your services or your products to somebody, you have to stay within your plan, and you have to know and identify what can you give that's extra as like a bonus, or something extra that you can give, knowing that you are going to give that, and set those expectations. So if anytime they're like, oh well, I don't care about the calling the vendors, I'll do it myself. Oh, okay, cool. That's part of my job, so I don't deduct that from my price.
Mhm.
If they're like, oh well, then I'll have to think about it. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Don't deviate from the plan. Like, if you say, oh, okay, fine, I'll just take off like $500, then that's like taking away from
Your worth.
your worth. And then they're gonna see, oh, if they're gonna drop this down, I'm gonna try to drop more stuff down.
Mhm.
And that's why you gotta stick to it, but identify what those the compromise that you can have, that you can do. Identify what those are, and then be really firm with how you propose it, and then let them know about their dream and why they need that service in the first place.
Mhm.
Like, you need this because how are you going to monetize your workshops? How, are you planning to spend more time doing this every day, or like what's your plan? Oh no, I want to monetize it. Well, if you compare my price to this person, it's not the same. I don't mind. I'm not saying like, to say anything bad about that person, but this is my price, and I'm happy to do it for you. And
Well, what is that separation, right? Like, what are you bringing to the table that they're not going to get there?
Exactly. Yeah, and not to like call names out or anything like that, but like having those objections ready to go. And that's why it's important. When I was talking to Alex, like, you have to have like your presentation ready to go. Just like anything, any business, right? You have to make it super predictable. So you always ask maybe 2-3 questions, the same questions every time. And that's an open-ended question. So you allow them to talk, and you allow them to share their vision with you. And that's when you're like, okay, where can I help? Because if it's not a good fit, you have to let it go, And once you start trying to convince the person that they need you, you're not going to have a good experience with that job, because that gig or whatever, because you're going to end up doing so much for this person, and they're not going to see your value. So, I mean, that's why it's so important to get the creation do the creation together, and build that vision together with your help. Just contribute to it, but they have to have the vision first. It just depends on what job business you're doing, but yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying, though. I see what you're saying, and you just go all in. If somebody was like, Camille, like, I know you're really, really good at research, and you're really good at like figuring out like how to take the holes out of the business and sew it up and like really evolve the business. Like, I know I'm good at that, but when somebody recognizes it and they're willing to pay me, and I don't have any like paid clients myself, I do it for partnership and build relationships. That's how I'm able to collaborate. And hey, I scratch your back, you say, okay, cool, like we got,
Well,
like,
there's a value add to each other.
Yeah.
There's ROI in it, and so I don't have that experience, but say somebody came up to me and said they know that I can do that, and they're happy to pay me like $100,000 to do work with them for a year. I'd be like, bet, like, I'm there, like, yeah, I'll do it. But it's your reputation too, like, you got to be a good person. Like, you can't be talking about like how you're you do this and that, and you're gonna you're being negative. Like, say you're just talking doo-doo all the time about people, and no one's gonna want to work with you. You got to have a good attitude. You got to be on. Sure. When you're on, you're on. When you're off, it's because you're resting. So I don't know if that made sense.
No, a lot of that makes sense to me. Me personally, I think that experience can sometimes be overrated, and that was probably the point that I'm trying to make. Like, if somebody's coming to me like, and they're like, oh yeah, I've got 30 years industry experience. I've actually had this with some of my recent prospects and stuff. They're like, oh well, I've been with this person for 20 years, and they got a ton of experience and they got a great reputation. I'm like, yeah, when did they ever talk to you about some of these concepts, or have they ever? Well, no, this is the first time I've heard it. I'm like, okay, so they're not bringing to the table what I'm bringing to the table. So we can compare experience. They're 25 years older than me and have 20 more years experience, but that means nothing to the expertise that I have in this particular area. And so I think sometimes you can package yourself with confidence over somebody who has experience. If I was a first year photographer and I was passionate about it like you, and they're like, hey, I just met somebody who has like a fat portfolio, like the phone book and stuff. I'm like, that's awesome. But, you know, and I don't know that person, but if I wanted that job, I'm going to fight for it and say, I'm going to deliver something to you that they don't have. I have a fresh take. I have some ideas. I have some vision based on what I've seen and this and that. And I don't know, maybe they do have the same thing, but they got a tired eye after 30 years. I got fresh eyes, right? Like I would package that.
Needs another
dude,
bang, dog.
hey, dude, and I'm getting that. I'm taking that business. I'm not gonna settle for like, oh, okay, you're right. I don't have what they have. Like, no, I have something different. What's that separation? And if you value that, then cool. I think that's possible. By the way, for all of you entrepreneurs, I think that's possible with everything. What I'm saying is fight for what it is that you want.
Well, as
somebody is willing to take your lunch.
They will, dude. You know what I mean? And
I think new entrepreneurs have a really great like window because they're not as busy as like say Tony Robbins. They're not as busy as Tony Robbins. So people who get a Tony Robbins like tutorial or workshop or whatever like that, how much time is he gonna have to spend time with you? You would have to spend thousands of dollars, right? But if you're like the next Tony Robbins or like you look at yourself like someone who has a lot of value like that because you're confident and you've been through all these things or not, but you have a lot of value to give, you can pitch that like I will make time for you. You know, like this is not, you're not going to get this
availability.
Availability, you know, so nice.
It's not ability.
No, the number one ability is availability.
You know what I'm saying? We there, my G. We there, man. Yeah, this was fire, man.
I hope I answered some questions. I know we talked about a lot of stuff, but I'm very structured minded, so I'm like, do we talk about everything?
She just wanted to talk and not have us interrupt, bro. That's what she said.
No, I just didn't know.
A process
I didn't know if I covered everything. But I'm so glad that we did this.
I think you did. Yeah, I am too.
Nah, man, I had a blast, man. We had a blast before the conversation.
Yeah, the 20 minutes behind the scenes you're not going to get.
You know. There'll be
Lock
another podcast
Camille.
for that.
Pop Lock and
There'll
Camille.
be another podcast for that one. Behind the scenes,
we should do a reaction video podcast. That would be so fun.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
It would be interesting. Yeah, like have a video and we'll watch it and see what the deal is. Break it down. Yeah. I got some videos, man. I don't know. Yo, bro, I got some videos. All right, yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
That could be like a once a week thing, or like once a month. All right, guys, it's the reaction, whatever, you know. Make it fun. Like,
yeah, you can react to comments, conversations, stuff people say. I understand. That makes sense.
That's what I do.
They don't want me reacting, man. I'm defensive.
No.
And I will offend you if I feel the need to defense.
Yo, I'm telling you, we had such. We'll talk about. We had the last one we did, bro. It was so funny.
Dude, I need to listen to that audio, bro. You got to send it to me because I'm curious.
Yeah, like, so funny.
Where it went. I left the gloves at home, so.
It was crazy, man. But Camille, we appreciate you, man, for coming through to the orifice, right?
Yeah, I had a good time. You guys are always fun.
Yeah, man.
Likewise.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And yes, ma'am. Super excited, man. Want to appreciate you guys for listening in. You know, just remember, man, to like, comment, share, subscribe, smash the like button, do all that, man. Share this with a friend. We appreciate you. And shoot, man. With that, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm always on Instagram. I take breaks sometimes, but it's Camille Hita _. And then I'm starting to build my Facebook page, so watch out for that too. It's Camille Hita.
Hita.
Hita. Hita.
I say Hita.
Government.
I like Hita.
Government Hita. You know what I'm saying? But in where we at is Hita, man.
Hita.
But man, shoot, I'm excited, man. Anything you want to close out with, Thomas?
I'm good, brother. I think it was awesome. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
And all your insight.
Absolutely. Well, shoot, without no further ado, man, no pressure.
No diamonds.
Let's get it.